3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff. Liftoff. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
Welcome back to TTMTrades. Today we're going to be talking about any and everything. We're going to be talking about the stock market today because woo. That's all I can say, man. But we have 2,600 followers. I appreciate every single one of you. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit that alert button so you can stay up to date on the videos. But we're just going to talk about multiple stocks, man. We're going to talk about multiple stocks, things I've been looking at, what's been on my mind as far as the market, my mindset, just the whole nine. So everybody know, man, I've been watching ticker TVIX, which is the volatility index, which is a direct reflection of the S&P 500. So been watching this one for quite some time now. I initially got back in at that 750 range, then it rolled up to that 867, and then it pulled back. Knucklehead me, I didn't take profits. Yeah, so all of that. Yeah, so this is where we at right now. So let's go to the S&P 500 first, right? So looking at the S&P 500 just at a glance, the S&P 500, so the VIX or TVIX, right, that is the volatility index, right? So whenever the major indexes, there's a lot of volatility in it, from the overall market dropping or on a downtrend, retracing, whatever the case may be, right? Causes fear and all of that in the market, which causes a lot of volatility and so on and so forth. So it's a volatility index, right? So if you look at the S&P 500, as you can see, it had these wild swings. It was on this nice uptrend coming out of 2017 into 2018, and then just had this nasty drop from 285 down to 251 low, right? And then it had another wild swing from 251 to 279. Let's move these out the way. And then a wild swing from 279, 254, 271, 260, 267, 263. Are you all noticing something? The swings are getting tighter and tighter, right? So the S&P 500, there's not that much volatility within it right now. So when you first had this major drop, and a lot of money makers and traders and investors was pulling out or putting money in the market and taking money out of the market, right? You got these wild swings, right? But now these swings are beginning to get tighter and tighter, as you can see here. So pretty soon, with these swings getting tighter and tighter, you have to look for a breakout here sometime soon, and kind of gauge what direction the S&P 500 is going to go, right? Is it going to have this bullish breakout back to the upside and start trying to work its way back up into these highs of 285s and continue upwards throughout the rest of the year? Or is this year just going to be a bad year for the market overall, with all of the news and all of the issues going on worldwide and the U.S. Treasury and you name it, right? Is it just going to go on this nice downtrend and break below its current trend line, which is sitting right at about 257, give or take, if we continue to follow the trend? So nobody knows. Me personally looking, I honestly think the S&P 500 is going to break out of this tight, narrow, symmetrical triangle that is beginning to form, and it's going to go on a downtrend. All right, when it breaks out of this tight symmetrical triangle, right, and it fails this trend line, if it doesn't find support on that 257 and it breaks through that 257, then that breaks its main support, and then you will probably begin to start seeing new lows. All right, and just looking, if you look on this last push up right here, you can see the RSI was unable to create momentum to break through that 10-period moving average and was immediately rejected, right? And a lot of people know how I trade with my RSI. You start getting rejected by that 10-period moving average, then that shows that for this particular indicator, the RSI, there's no momentum in this stock, right? And it's beginning to create higher highs and higher lows. So, you have a high here, a low, then you have a lower high, and then if this trend continues down to the rest of the week, you'll have a lower low. Even with your CCI, right? Even your CCI is being rejected by its 10-period moving average and broke through its 30 and is pushing back down, right? So these are all signs of a downtrend in the short term, in the daily view of the S&P 500. I know a lot of people who trade the S&P 500 or invest in the S&P 500 are big time investors who are putting money into the overall market on a long-term basis based off the top 500 companies right in the US. And they're not really concerned with the trading aspect. But for those who are looking at the short-term volatility within the major indexes, then I see a overall downtrend coming on a day-to-day basis. And I don't think this tight symmetrical triangle that's forming is going to hold and it's going to break to the downside. Now, if we go big picture and we look weekly on the S&P 500, then you will see even on the weekly we're creating higher lows. As you can see here, here's a high 285, a lower high 279, a lower high 271. But luckily, if you pay attention, the 50-period moving average, which is this yellow line, has been holding up the S&P 500 for quite some time now. Let's just go 5 years back and look at this. So you can see from this last nasty downtrend back in late 2015, 2016 was when the market was kind of shaky, as it began to ramp back up, as it pulled back, found support on that 50-period moving average, and then again it pulled back, found support right above that 50-period moving average, and then again you're having this nasty pullback and it's finding support right above this 50-period moving average. So just looking at the 50-period moving average overall on the S&P 500, that is the line of support that you want to see hold. And as you can see right now, every time you push down into that area, you get these long candle wicks where there's a lot of accumulation and buying in this general area. So I would look for, as far as short-term play, for the S&P 500 to push back down into that 255, 257 range, which should cause the VIX to get probably one more spike up. And then from that moment forward, I would probably sit back on the sidelines as far as TVIX goes and see what the overall market does. But right now, the main line of support is from 660 to 680, which you can see back here in this general area. And now, as you can see, it's holding on 3 occasions, 1, 2, and then 3. So hopefully with the S&P 500 getting that nasty breakdown, and hopefully it pushes back down into that 250 to 255 area, which will cause the VIX to hopefully spike one last time into that mid $9 range, low $10 range up here where you see this trend line is currently pulling down. All right, so that's TVIX and the S&P 500. Let's talk about ticker MYO and why I just bought crazy amounts of shares in ticker MYO. So ticker MYO, as you can see, had this nasty downtrend and had this nice little spike in volume right here. As you can see, there was some major accumulation. If you see on this pullback, the volume was below average the entire time, as you can see here. So with the volume being below average, that simply shows that there wasn't any major selling, right? This is just simply profit takers, right? As the price action began to pull back, people are locking in profits, locking in, the day traders are locking in profits on those quick swings up and down from 312 to 343, right? But no major selling volume to show that this spike and uptrend is coming to an end and is going back down to retest those lows. And then as you begin to get this nice little doji candlestick forming, you get a nice breakout above that 20-period moving average, and then again another spike in high volume to break above the 50 period moving average. So we've broken above the 20 period moving average, as you can see here, this blue line, and then we've broken above the 50 period moving average, which is this yellow line, and we're consolidating nicely on top of it, and we're still within the top 2 Bollinger Bands. And like I tell all of my followers, as far as the double Bollinger Bands, anytime it's trending within those top 2 Bollinger Bands, then that means it's in a strong uptrend. It's in a very bullish trend. All right, as you can see here, even your RSI is holding above its 10 period moving average, and it's trending up with it. Hopefully you get a nice bounce here, and then even your CCI, even when your CCI is in a very bullish trend, it will hold above its 50 period moving average. But when it's in a very, very bullish trend, it will hold above this top line right at 100. This top line right here, that represents 100, right? Your CCI ranges from negative 100 to positive 100. And anytime a stock is in a very, very, very bullish trend, it will maintain above that 100 and stay above 100, peaking out at the tops, constantly making highs. Okay, so as you can see, even it's trending above the 100 on the CCI. So possibly another breakout here to push up against the high side. As you can see here, you have immediate resistance right here at about 486, where that 200 period moving average is at. So a break above that would be very, very bullish. For people who don't know, common moving averages for swing traders is 20, 50, and 200. 20 period moving average, if price action breaks above the 20 period moving average, which is this blue line right here, then that tells the trader short term this stock is in a bullish state, right? And if it continues to hold above the 20 period moving average, because as it trends above the 20 period moving average, it begins to pull the 20 period moving average up until your 50 period moving average. And your 50 period moving average for a swing trader is more of a medium term bullish state for a stock. So if it crosses above that 50 period moving average, now we went from a short-term bullish to more of a medium-term, more bullish state for the stock. And if it trends above that 50 period moving average and you break above that 200 period moving average, then that means long-term, if it holds above the 200 period moving average, this is a very bullish stock, and it is in a very bullish uptrend. So we just want to see if we can make that break above the 200 period moving average. Me, myself, I will keep a tight stop loss as I begin to push up into that 200 period moving average. But I do believe we have a high chance of pushing up into this 486. Now, looking at the weekly, zooming out big picture, because I am a swing trader and I do hold stocks, I try to hold them at most a week, maybe even 2 weeks, if I still see a great setup in that stock for a potential breakout. So looking at ticker MYO long term on a weekly chart, you can see we had this downtrend, and as it got below that 1 standard deviation Bollinger Band, it immediately pulled back up with the shares being accumulated, and then you had this nice breakout above the 20 period moving average. And then last week you had a break back below it, and it actually closed above the 20 period moving average. And then this week, as you can see, we are making higher highs, which shows that this stock is moving into a bullish trend. Now, if you also pay attention, your Bollinger Bands are beginning to constrict, come inward, to show that there's less volatility in that stock. So when there's less volatility in a stock, that means that there aren't many wild swings in that stock, that it's in a nice settled state, and the bid ask is very tight on that stock. Now, normally when you have low volatility, there's high volatility right afterwards, because either the bulls are going to come in and overpower the bears, or the bears are going to come in and overpower the bulls during that low volatility state. So with us being in a low volatility state, with the Bollinger Bands constricting on a more long-term view as far as ticker MYO goes, there should be a nice breakout here soon, and it's going to be a bullish breakout. Okay, because as you can see here, we are making higher lows. Here's a low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, right? So the stock is trending up, and we've broken over that short-term bullish moving average of the 20 period moving average. And another thing to keep in mind is we also have broken above that 10 period moving average on our CCI, and the RSI is holding perfectly above its 10 and 30 period moving average on a more long-term basis as far as looking at the weekly chart. So what we want to see is that break above 440 to push into that 486, 493 area like we've seen on the daily, and then try to work our way back into these highs of the mid 550s where we always seem to get rejected. So I took an entry right around $4. That does not mean you try to take an entry at around $4. You look at a MYO and you come up with your own game plan based on what you see, but don't try to make an entry based off what I see, okay? Because if something goes wrong, then I have an exit plan already in place, okay? But we want to see that break above that 440 and that 493 to push back into these mid 550 areas, and I'll gladly take a $4 to 550 spread any day on my money. And then I'll probably lock in keep a tight stop loss as we push up into that area. But ticker MYO is definitely bullish on the daily and the weekly chart. So looking forward, a week or two from now, the stock look like it's going to definitely break out. It just needs a little volume, which we should see here hopefully soon. If we get the volume for the push, then that'll definitely confirm the bullishness of the stock and what we see. And let's switch over. Let's talk about Bitcoin. So we've been talking about Bitcoin for... Alright, so let's talk about ticker, well, not ticker, but let's talk about Bitcoin. So as you can see, Bitcoin had this crazy run up. Everybody know the run up Bitcoin had from 2017 towards the end of the year going into 2018, when it literally ran from give or take $800 to about 19,000, close to 20,000. So it was a very bullish run, and now it's beginning to have this pullback. As you can see, we are now in 2018, and it's been having this nice pullback. As you can see, it found support here, ran back up into that trend line again, found some support, and then finally had the nice breakout. So with Bitcoin having a breakout, a lot of the Bitcoin stocks that follow Bitcoin are having their breakouts also. Now normally when I'm trading stocks that deal with Bitcoin, I trade ticker BTCS, which stands for Bitcoin Services, and it is a OTC stock. So if you have Robinhood, you definitely cannot trade this one, but there are plenty of Bitcoin related stocks for you all to go and look at. But as you see, ticker BTCS dipped down to $4 and ran all the way up to that run up to about 11.5 cents, so almost close to about 180% return, give or take, from the end of March to close to the end of April. So in about a month time frame, about 180% return, close to 200% return. So BTCS follows Bitcoin very closely. So what I'm looking at is I want to see Bitcoin, since it did break out of this descending triangle pattern. As you can see here, what I want to see is this nice pullback. As you can see here, our RSI, it began to break above that 10 period moving average, signaling that the momentum was changing, and then it had another break above, and then it began trending above it, which right there alerted me that Bitcoin itself was beginning to try to make a play and break out. And then that's exactly what happened. So what we see now is the RSI has broken below that 10 period moving average, and it is currently trending downward. So anytime a stock is in a bullish trend, what do I tell you all? It will find support in that 40 to 50 area of your RSI. Okay, so what we want to see is, as Bitcoin begins to pull back, we want to see the RSI either consolidate, begin to move flat, as you can see here, and then make another break above its 10 period moving average, signaling that the momentum is shifting back into the bulls' favor and they're coming in and buying shares. And or if it continues this downtrend, we want to see it make a bounce off of that 50, and or make a bounce out of this general area, as you can see where I have the green at representing that 40 to 50 on the RSI. Once we get that bounce in that general area, then that'll be a good time itself to make an entry on ticker BTCS. So as you can see, these two are following each other quite closely. So once I see Bitcoin get done consolidating, because that's what it's doing right now, as it had to break out, it is consolidating in this new area where new buyers are coming in and buying out the weak hands that are selling at the top, and now they're creating a new base for Bitcoin to have another run up. As you can see here, had to break out, consolidation here, breakout, short-term consolidation, breakout, and now we're consolidating again. So as I begin to see Bitcoin break out again, I am going to go back and re-enter on ticker BTCS. But good idea just to keep an eye on Bitcoin overall and all Bitcoin stocks. Gold, let's talk about gold. So gold, as you can see here, I've been following gold for quite some time now. Gold, this area of about 1357, give or take, has been smacking gold down left and right. So as you can see, pushing to that area, rejected, ran into this area again, rejected, and then we started forming this ascending triangle with 3 different trend lines going, as you can see here as I pull them over to try to update them. But as it got rejected, it pulled down into the initial yellow trend line, began running back up, got rejected again, pulled back into that green trend line, showing that the pullbacks were getting tighter, and then it pushed back up into that area again. And then as it began to pull into that white trend line, I was looking to see if gold would hold, and it did not, because I began seeing the RSI tick below its 10-period moving average. So that let me know that the price action wouldn't hold on that trend line. So what we want to see now is that either gold holds in this general area, as you can see here, this temporary resistance where gold was trying to break out of initially, hopefully becomes old support and gold holds above the area. If not, then it'll probably pull back into this trend line, the secondary trend line right here, the green one. And then what we want to look for is a nice bounce, and for this to run back up into that 1357 area for another attempt to break out again. Now JNUG itself, as you can see here, is beginning to reverse for a possible breakout. It was in this long consolidation pattern right here, and then it finally had to break out, and then it pulled back into what looks to be old resistance, which was blocking JNUG from breaking out, now has become new support. So we just want to see that this area holds, and then possibly try to get that run up from 1454 back into these old highs up here, as you can see, right around at $16 to $18. So I would keep an eye on both of those. And last but not least, let's talk about, man, ticker IMTE. This one popped up on my scanner, but last minute, this stock ran from literally $1.85 all the way up to $42 in one day. That is crazy, man. And what's even more crazy is it popped up on my scanners back when it was in this area right here before the actual run up. But the only reason I didn't advertise it or pay attention to it is because the way it was thinly getting traded, as you can see here, real small thin trades. And I didn't really want to talk about this stock or, you know, try to promote it to, not promote it, but, you know, do a technical analysis on it for it to buy or anything like that. But it popped up on my scanners because everyone knows the CCI, man. Once it breaks above that 10-period moving average and that 30-period moving average and holds, that lets me know something is fundamentally changing in the stock. And then even with your RSIs, it was making that break above the 2. That correlates with the price action down here. So as we scroll down, it was popping up on my scanners back in this area. So I'm not sure why the stock jumped like this. I have no clue, right? Could have been on news or anything, right? But just looking at technicals, this was on my scanner, and I wanted to punch myself in the kneecap for missing this. But literally, man, from $1.85 to $42, that is crazy. So now I know what a lot of people are thinking is they're going to try to play this on the pullback. And will you be able to play this on a pullback? So I would just keep a close eye on this one. As it begins to pull back, you can see your RSI is pulling back with it. As you can see, this is a fairly new stock because it doesn't have, it was thinly traded as before. But what I can tell you right now is, with this stock breaking out the way that it did, as it begins to pull back, there are a lot of traders looking to jump in this stock and to try to ride it back up and pound back into the stock. So as you can see, the double Bollinger Bands are barely forming because it doesn't have that much price action data to build itself off of. But just off what it's showing us, as the RSI is pulling back, it's correlating with this $20.41 pullback. If that $20 doesn't hold, then your next line of support is right here at $13.33. So I will watch for one of these two areas to hold, and then I'm pretty sure this one will have another run up again, because this one is probably on everyone's scanners. I've seen people talking about it on YouTube, so I'm pretty sure a lot of traders are going to try to trade this one last time before this thing finally evens out and trades at a regular price compared to what the company has to offer, or what investors sees what it's worth. Okay, but yeah, man, I just wanted to get on here and talk. If you listened all the way through, I appreciate it. But ticker MYO, that's what I'm in for now. I'm still watching ticker TVIX. I'm just waiting to see how the S&P 500 breaks out of this symmetrical triangle that is forming, since it is in a low volatility state, and we're trying to see if the bulls or bears are going to take control. But till next time, hit that subscribe button. TTMTrades. Trade safe, protect your accounts. Remember, take small base hits. Do not go out swinging for the fence. And until next time.
Listen, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.